Welcome to Whispers to a Bride, where we talk about the stuff no one else is talking about. We are going deep on the emotional aspects of getting married, the stress, drama, and turbulence that affects your own sense of identity and your closest relationships. We are talking about what it means to be a bride and how to navigate this sacred time with more grace and ease. I'm your host, Kara Gassabay. As a life coach and therapist, I'm going to be sharing super practical tips so that you can not only rise to the occasion of your wedding, but also your life. Hello, and welcome back to episode, I think it's 77, The Bridal Haunting. I am sitting here in front of my Christmas tree and really going to invoke a little Charles Dickens, Ghost of Christmas Past and Future, Bridal Edition. So this whole concept of the bridal haunting came up in a bridal session I did last week, which is the one-on-one call I do with brides. And I'm telling you, it is amazing. These bridal sessions are where you get the insight, the clarity, the calm, and the confidence that you're really looking for in your wedding experience. This is the feeling you're going to want to have on your wedding day. And this call is how you get that. And again, I could go on forever explaining like the magic and the value, but I just wanted to bring it up here because this is literally where this whole concept came from. I had never talked about it in this way before this call, and it just really helped this bride so much understand what the heck was causing her deep indecision and just anxiety, sort of this oscillation between an anxiety and a depression of when it came to her wedding. And it just wasn't like her. And this understanding it in this bridal haunting lens really sort of broke her open in a way to get out of that cycle and move forward with a lot more grace and ease. So just a little plug for the bridal sessions that I offer. My calendar is open, super easy. Book your call today. You will not regret it. But back to this week's episode of The Bridal Haunting. So there are two people that are going to mess with you the most in your wedding planning journey, and that is the past you and the future you. Exactly. You think it's all these other people? Pro tip, it's just you. It's just the past you and the future you. So there is this little girl version of you who comes to this moment with all of these expectations and images and ideas and daydreams about what this moment would be like. We've talked about this before. It's the classic like expectation trap. And the problem is when you were actually in the reality of living this moment with all of the constraints and pressures and realities of actually bringing these ideas into real life, it can cause such a friction that you then think that friction means you're doing something wrong. And that's what I mean being haunted. It's like, instead of just being like, oh yeah, I thought it would be this way, and really it's this way, you think that disconnect and that discord and that friction means that something's wrong, and it paralyzes you and really makes it hard to make decisions and to be calm and peaceful and continue moving forward in your wedding planning journey because you're so sort of like nervous and upset that like something's wrong. But if you really stop and think about it, what's wrong is just that like you have these outdated ideas, images, expectations, and thoughts about what it would really be like. But that doesn't really take into account what the reality of the situation is. And it's so funny because we want these details to really, as we talked about in the previous episode, showcase who we are and our taste level and what our intentions are and what we're all about as an individual and as a couple and as a bride. And then it's like, when they don't feel familiar to us in that kind of way, when they don't feel really solid to us, we feel upset and anxious and nervous when really it's just about those expectations and ideas that don't have anything to do with the reality right now, right? Those ideas that you had that you're bringing to the table that didn't have anything to do with your fiance or where you're living or what your budget is or where you are in your life and what your priorities that have shifted, right? Maybe the 15-year-old you who thought you were going to get married in your parents' backyard and then travel for 2 years before starting a family and you'd be a stay-at-home mom, right? All these ideas that we just have, and that's okay. We just come up with these concepts. But then the reality is that like your parents sold that house and you want to start a family yesterday and you're getting married later in life, right? There's so many ways that things are different, but I'm just begging you, don't let that innocent girl or woman, right? It could be just up to a year ago when you were at your friend's wedding saying, I would never do it like this. I would never be this stressed. I would never make these choices. This doesn't make sense, right? When we're a little bit just feeling like, oh, we could do it better. And now you're in it and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm not doing it better. Like, this is so icky and weird and I don't get it. I want you to give your past self grace for the ways in which she was naive and the ways in which she just couldn't have known, right? Some of the restraints and some of the pressures that you're actually facing in reality as you're bringing this wedding into the world. So give her grace that she didn't know. And then don't let her be rude to present you. Don't let her make you feel like it should be the way she thought it was going to be, right? Don't let the 12-year-old idea of what your wedding should look like somehow haunt and disrupt and make you agitated and upset and anxious about what the real version is. So again, just work with that past self to like give grace to her and have her give grace to you. And then there's that other version of yourself, right? Who is the future you. This is the girl we are scared of. This is the woman that we fear. This is what regret is really made of. It is the fear of your future self being critical and being harsh and mean to yourself. And so this is you're married 5 years and you're looking back at your wedding and you're like, wow, that was a waste of money. We shouldn't have gotten ourselves all worked up and spent all that money. We should have put that money to a down payment, or we should have saved that for our future kids, or we could have gone on a better trip or something. Like, that's the future self that you're afraid is going to look back and be like, that dress was so trendy and so silly and not you. And why did you hire that makeup person? Because it's dumb. And also, why did you have that girl in your bridal party? Because now all your pictures have her and you're not even friends anymore. So that was a bad choice. There's so many ways in which our future self can really, really mess up the present version of our experience. And really, the fear of that criticism can really derail your entire experience. So what do we do, right? Because we don't want to derail our entire experience and make ourselves crazy with anxiety when it's really just our past and future selves doing that. And so the solution, really, the antidote to this kind of self-torture that we all engage in, again, it's completely normal, is first to like bring some awareness to it. Really try to think about like, am I freaking out because I'm scared of regretting something in the future, or am I freaking out because it's not the way I thought it would be, right? Expectations and regret are two clues that you're dealing with past and future you problems. So what we want to do is join up, right? Let's try to get some like integration of ourself over time. And that really is just taking a moment to bring awareness to the situation, understanding, oh, of course I thought it would be like this because I didn't know everything. And now I know it. And in the same way, you're going to say, of course, in the future, I'm going to have beautiful hindsight and lots of insight and perspective on how it could have been different, better, whatever. But I don't get that right now. And so all you can do is decide ahead of time in the future, you're going to be kind to the girl who was in the experience, making decisions with all of the things coming at her and all of the change and all of the things she didn't know and that she was trying to know, but she did the best she could with what she had. And that approach, promising yourself that in the future, you'll just look back at yourself with grace and compassion, can just bring so much calm to the situation. And you have control over that, right? You absolutely have control over how you will treat yourself in the future. It's just paying attention to your thoughts and choosing gentler, kinder thoughts to yourself. And the same is true for looking back. You're not going to be like, pretend like that 12-year-old girl, whatever decision she made was somehow the pinnacle and everything needs to look like that or something has gone wrong. No, you're going to be like, that was sweet and that was lovely for that version of me. But she doesn't know everything that I'm dealing with now. So we're going to look back at love and compassion with her all the time, realizing that like you can choose in every moment self-compassion. That's so funny. When I was talking to this client about it, we were like, in the end, does it just come back to being nice to herself? And it's like, what a cheesy answer. And also, if you want to cut to the chase, that's really what it is about. And today we're talking about it in terms of this sort of time travel and haunting of the past and future self. But all we're really asking you to do is be nice to yourself through the time-space continuum. Be nice to yourself in this moment of like chaos and change and juggling and deciding and planning, right? Be nice to her because she's going through a lot. And sometimes the best way to be nice to her is being nice to that previous version of you who thought it would be so different. And the future you, who you know is going to look back and be like, oh, you should have done it differently. But have all of those parts come together and decide to give grace and to give love and to give compassion and not use ourselves against ourselves. Decide to have your own back in the past, in the present, and in the future, and not punish ourselves. Nothing has gone wrong, right? That's the thing. It's like we're constantly scanning for what's gone wrong, and using our past and our future to make us on high alert and keep us in that fight or flight and keep us from making decisions and moving ahead. And that's what we don't want to get into. So if you are feeling haunted in your wedding planning journey, please know that you are not alone. Try this on. Try this idea of past self and future self and talking to them and being kind to them and loving to them and just knowing, right? Like, again, one of my favorite episodes is the one, Hold Two Things. It's always going to be both and, right? Like my 12-year-old version of me had a great idea about my wedding, and also the reality of what's happening is really cool too. And my future self is going to have such a great perspective on like how we should have done this. And also I know I'm doing the best I can with what I have now and what I know now. So let both things be true. Let it be okay that you'll have lots of thoughts and feelings and mixed emotions about all of it, and let it be okay. But do take a moment to give lots of love to your past and future selves so they won't haunt you as you're planning this wedding. And of course, again, if you need me, I am available. One-on-one bridal sessions, totally affordable, $250, can change your entire bridal experience. Will make all the money that you put into this wedding so much more worth it, because you will be able to show up emotionally available and mentally clear and ready to embrace all of the love and the magic and the beauty of this sacred time in your life. So, KaraMorning.com, make your appointment. In the meantime, I am wishing you nothing but bridal bliss.